Wintertime in the upper Midwest. Welcome to Minneapolis. And here at the Metrodome, the final regular season game between the NFC North champions, the Chicago Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings. Brad Johnson, who only has 4 interceptions, and that is a very low percentage in the NFL. Re-signed with the Vikings in March, played 7 seasons with Minnesota in the early to late 90s. And leading the team out, he was the engineer of a 6-game winning streak, which nearly pulled the Vikings in. First down at the 28. Play action on first down, and the pass up the middle, and wide open is Jim Kleinsaucer, and a 15-yard gain and a first down at the 43-yard line.
Well, we talked about the evaluation process, and here's some guys on the offensive side of the ball. Troy Williamson, elite speed on the outside, but they want to see him be more complete as a receiver. Richard Angulo, the tight end, they like him very much here. And Cedric Faison, he's been a short yardage goal line runner, but they want to get him more snaps in field. They want to see how he runs between the 20s.
Alfonso Boone and Israel Adonijay are the 2 tackles inside for the Bears. And a first down on the Minnesota 43. And coming right in and smashing after the handoff to Bennett is Alex Brown, having a huge year for the great defensive team, the Bears.
Well, there's been a lot of guys that have had great seasons, but Alex Brown, you got to put him up there. You hear a lot about Brian Urlacher and Tommy Harris, but the pressure from the outside between Alex Brown and Adewale Ogunleye has been excellent all season long, and he has made some tremendous strides, and he's one of those guys that signed long-term for this Bears defense.
6-yard loss on the year, 7 sacks this season, a career high for Brown. Speaking of Ogunleye, Michael Haynes starting in place of him, Tank Johnson in place of Ian Scott. Second down and long, 2nd and 16. Brad Johnson's pass, and it's nearly picked off by Nathan Vasher, and that's all he's done this year. And that will bring up 3rd down and 16, the pass intended for Travis Taylor.
The important thing for Lovie Smith is the #1 objective, get these guys out of the game healthy. And there's your 3 really important guys, in my opinion. Mike Brown, he's already out of the lineup, resting an injury. But Nathan Vasher, Brian Urlacher, Tommy Harris, there's one guy at each level that's very critical to the success of this team-oriented style defense. So the #1 thing for this Bears defense, just get off the field healthy.
Troy Williamson, the rookie, highly touted, in as the 3rd wide receiver on 3rd down and long, and they dump it off inside to Michael Bennett. The running back is hit immediately at the 41-yard line, well short of the first down. That was Brandon McGowan, the rookie, starting at strong safety. In fact, the Bears starting 2 rookies. Chris Harris has been there all year long, and 4th down coming up. And Chris Kluwe in to kick for the Vikings, and Bernard Berrien,
back up, guys. Back up.
who has had 2 flawless games as a punt returner. That had been a sticky point for the Bears.
Maybe the only area of uncertainty all season for the Chicago Bears, that punt return job.
Berrien on the 20. Down the sideline and a few extra yards, and Berrien out of bounds at the 46-yard line by the veteran Ralph Brown. Kyle Orton with a 10-4 record this season, making his 15th start, replaced at halftime of the Falcons game a couple of weeks ago by Rex Grossman, who is the 3rd quarterback today. They put the ball back on the 33, and Thomas Jones with the carry, and Jones gets 4 yards on the play.
Well, we're going to have some guys out of the lineup for this Chicago Bear offense, and here's some guys that Lovie Smith wants to take a look at also. Bernard Berrien's really stepped up, more consistency. Justin Gage should get an opportunity for some plays. But 2 important guys, Adrian Peterson, but maybe more so than that, Cedric Benson. He's been injured the last several weeks, has a knee injury. They want to see how he is coming back off that.
Thomas Jones coming in needing 27 yards to go over 1,300, which would make him only the 2nd Bear running back in history. Walter Payton the other. And Orton's pass deflected and off the hands of Justin Gage, incomplete. Meanwhile, with Jones getting 4 yards on the first play, he passed Neil Anderson and is 2nd to Payton.
And here's some guys on the defensive side of the ball for the Minnesota Vikings. They want to take a look at Devontae Edwards, a cornerback, and Rod Davis, a linebacker. And Tony talked about it at the beginning. You know, the biggest thing that the coaches are going to be taking a look at, whether it's Mike Tice or a new staff that comes here to Minnesota, is the effort by these guys and the talent and execution of younger guys in the lineup.
3rd down and 6, and Eddie Berlin, who has not been used since being signed, former Tennessee Titan, is in the game, and Orton with the quick slant, and the pass is caught by Justin Gage, and a 1st down short of midfield, a gain of 9. This is the NFC playoff picture, and the only thing alive is whether the Cowboys or the Redskins will be the 6th wild card team. The Redskins with a victory would nail it down. So next week's matchups in the wild card would be Carolina at the Giants, and either the Redskins or the Cowboys at Tampa Bay.
John Fox going back to the Meadowlands.
He was the defensive coordinator for several seasons under Jim Fossil. 1st down on the 46 of Chicago. And here is Jones as Orton falls down, and Jones works his way just in to Minnesota territory. A gain of 4. Sam Cowart, the veteran middle linebacker, on the stop. He feels Rex Grossman can get all the work he needs in practice. 2nd and 11, and the quick out to Gage again. And Justin Gage, featured early today by the Bears offense, gets to the 45 of the Vikings. 10-yard gain, short of the 1st down, with Henderson and Sharper defending.
Well, a war of words since probably late October between Pat Williams and Olin Kreutz. So that would be one of the battles we watch down inside today.
Of course, a lot of that is going to be nullified a bit, playing with a heavy heart as Pat Williams, returning yesterday, coming back from the funeral of the death of his father in Monroe, Louisiana. Mayfield passed away, and Thomas Jones stopped by Brian Williams. No gain on the play. Pat Williams also involved, and so there is Williams. So I think the Kreutz-Pat Williams feud tempered somewhat because of personal situation.
Well, absolutely because of that, but you know, also, you know, it's hard to imagine that Olin Kreutz could have sabotaged his Pro Bowl voting. But you know, when we talk about the Bears and what they're doing as an offense, you see right there, they've really struggled on 3rd and short, which their style of play. Whoa.
And a pass going out to Adrian Peterson on a fake, and Peterson. So a little razzle-dazzle as Brad Maynard throwing to Adrian Peterson, the do-it-all running back, and a round of applause from Lovie Smith, and an 18-yard pickup for the Bears, and they get a 1st down on the 21.
Well, the one thing that this does is it forces every special teams group that you could face in the playoffs to start practicing for some gadget plays in the special teams phase of the game. Who says this is a meaningless game, huh? And you come out and you call somebody out after that 1st game, man, that's just adding fuel to the fire. You know you've got to play him again later in the season.
I got a chance to talk to Pat Williams before the game, too, and it was sort of like throwing salt on a bad wound when I asked him about Olin Kreutz. He just said, I'm just tired of everybody telling me how good he is. He's not that good when he plays me, he said.
Handoff is to Thomas Jones, and Jones works his way close to the 1st down. And the thing that really rankled Lovie Smith was the fact that the agent of Pat Williams accused Olin Kreutz of sabotaging Pro Bowl votes. And he says, Lovie Smith said, that really bothers me that the agent got involved. Olin Kreutz has a lot to do, the least of which is trying to prevent another player from getting to the Pro Bowl.
And that's kind of one of those cardinal rules you don't break. You don't fight your battles through the press, and you never let your agent get involved with it. So, you can really empathize with Lovie's case there. That guy should never have been involved in that.
2nd down and 1 on the 16, and here is Jones with a burst down to the 11, 1st down, and a 7-yard gain for Thomas Jones. And the Bears moving the ball, and it was that 4th down pass from Maynard. Fake punt and throwing to Peterson for the 18-yard pickup.
The impressive thing about what Thomas Jones has accomplished this season is the majority of those yards, obviously, when Kyle Orton was the starting quarterback. And a lot of times defenses were committing 8, sometimes 9 to the box and disregarding the passing game. So that offensive line and Thomas Jones, very effective against a defense geared to stop them.
1st and 10. And again, Jones, and he is driven back by Erasmus James. James, the number 1 pick, actually the 2nd number 1 pick out of Wisconsin, and showing that he's got great promise as a starting defensive end this year for Minnesota.
Well, there were high expectations for this Vikings defense coming into the season. Some people saying a top 5, top 10 defense, but it just really took them a while to gel and find out, how to maximize the abilities of this group as a whole. And, they started out playing a lot of press and man-to-man, and the winning streak, they kind of got away from that, got into something that worked, and they came together as a unit.
2nd down and 10 on the Viking 11, and the pass is caught by Gage, who gets inside the 5-yard line. And right on his back and making the play was Brian Williams.
Nice little route combination there. Thomas Jones clearing out the area, forces Brian Williams to kind of run over the top of that. That allows the separation for Justin Gage coming underneath on that slant route.
Pickup of 6. It'll be 3rd down and 4. And they go to Jones, and Jones stopped short of the 1st down. You could see the Bears were in position to get a 1st down and not necessarily a touchdown, only 1 yard, with Lance Johnstone making the play. So the field goal team comes on, Robbie Gould. And I guess after the fake punt, you can expect almost anything. Yeah,
you never know now. I'm actually, if they would have gotten more yardage, it would have been interesting to see if this is one of those situations that Lovey would have liked to take in a little bit of some game time practice with on a 4th down and short inside the 5-yard line.
21-yard attempt. Gould had a season high of 45 last week, and the field goal from 21 yards out is good, and the Bears have taken a 3-0 lead as Thomas Jones, little pushing going on, edges closer to dash their wild card hopes. So a 1st down for the Vikings on their 38. Mwelde Moore has checked in at running back, and Johnson's pass incomplete, and a huge rush on the play. Right now for a game break, look, they're in your face in a jiff, and I don't think you can attempt a long one. Here's the pass tipped and nearly picked off. Troy Williamson was the intended receiver. So it'll be 3rd down and 5. Well, the tackling battle going on between the 2 outstanding linebackers, Darryl, Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs, as close as you could expect now.
Yeah, and the great thing that Lovie Smith is going to do, when they come out of the game, they're going to come out together. And whoever's leading at that point, that's going to be your tackle leader for the Bears defense this season. Let me tell you, Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs both want that title. This has been a great defense all season long, would mean a lot, but I like the way Lovey's doing it. Hey, when I make that decision, you're both coming out.
3rd down and 5 out of the shotgun, and the quick toss, and it's a Troy Williamson, and it's a catch and a 1st down to midfield. So Williamson, 1st round pick out of South Carolina, pick acquired in the trade in which Randy Moss went to Oakland, gets 7 yards and the 1st down.
I think those are some of the things that Mike Tice would like to see Troy Williamson do this afternoon. He's a very fast guy. He took a short pass last week against Baltimore, turned it into a long play on a crossing route, but he wants to see him run the hitches, run the curls, the slant pass, the in routes, to become a complete wide receiver, not just be a guy that stretches the field vertically on the outside.
2 TD receptions in his first 4 games, and then it's been a long drought. 1st down, and a pump fake by Brad Johnson going deep for Williamson, and covered downfield by Chris Thompson. So Brad Johnson trying to take advantage of Thompson making his first NFL start, signed just before the year, played with Jacksonville last year, but really never got into uniform.
And does a great job because it's a double move. It's a hitch and go. Chris Thompson doesn't bite on the short route. And a lot of times you see that aggressive play on the outside. That receiver comes out, taps his feet, sells you on that shorter route. And all of a sudden you're breaking on the ball. He takes off down the field. Chris Thompson played that as well as you could play a double move.
Thompson starting in place of Charles Tillman, who's out with a bruised shoulder. Mike Brown, of course, not playing as well, which is why Brandon McGowan starts. 2nd down and 10. Here comes pressure, and the pass, great catch by Nate Burleson, and now they rule incomplete. Well, Burleson did not have control. Ball hit the ground, and it's an incomplete pass, but he was open on a great route run by Nate Burleson.
Nice route by Nate Burleson. Also a great throw by Brad Johnson. He's under pressure, fits it into a tight area, puts it right there for Nate Burleson, but he can't bring it in. After going 6 consecutive games playing very sharp on both sides of the ball, Minnesota's been a little bit inconsistent the last 2 weeks.
Under 4 minutes to go in the first. Third down, and again pressure, and the pass is dumped off to Mwelde Moore, and Moore is tackled right about midfield. So no gain on the play, and there's Tommy Harris, who's going to his first Pro Bowl, making the tackle and forcing the Vikings to punt again.
And they are bringing everybody on this play. Look at all the guys for the Bears up here. You're going to have 8 guys up on the line and only 3 guys back in coverage. Now he'll get the pressure. Here comes. There's Israel Adonijah in the face. And then it's Tommy Harris making the tackle. But you don't need to be on the game field to do that. You can create that in your preparation during the week. And a lot of these guys that aren't starting today went through the entire preparation for the week of practice.
E.J. Henderson on the sack of Kyle Orton, and a loss of 8 yards inside the 5.
A little bit of pressure up the middle. The Minnesota Viking defense watching the Bears. He gets inside John Tate. Nobody there to pick him up. Kyle Orton, not much of a chance. They're trying to run a double move on their own. He comes back to the left. He's coming to his secondary receiver, but he's got E.J. Henderson right in his face.
As a defensive lineman, man, this is when your game's got to go up. You got a chance of scoring a couple points with a safety here.
Second down and 7. They go to Jones, and not much there. Jones getting back to the 5, and Pat Williams with the tackle, gain of 1 yard, which will bring up 3rd and long. And if the Vikings, with the moxie, as you mentioned, Tony, this is the chance for the defense to really put pressure on, something that the Bears are used to doing to the teams that they play.
And the other thing is you're down close to the goal line, the loudest part of the field. So another advantage going to the defense. Those tackles on the outside got to hold in. They're going to be a split second late on that snap count. So the advantage goes to a guy like Lance Johnstone or Erasmus James on the outside. 3rd
and 16 on a delay, and here is Thomas Jones. And he takes it out to the 10-yard line, and that'll be 4th down. You saw Brian Urlacher, who is out, replaced by Jeremy King. Lance Briggs also has come out. Brendan Ironbajejo replaced him. 1st down on the 45-yard line. Good field position for Brad Johnson, and the pass caught at the 35 by Travis Taylor, and a 1st down and a gain of 25 yards.
Travis Taylor, number 89, coming out of the slot right there on a crossing route. Good field by Brad Johnson. You saw it was on the back shoulder. Now some people might say, oh, that's a bad pass, but you saw the 2 defenders right there, the linebacker and the safety coming in. A small window for Brad Johnson to get that ball into.
Vikings have passed in 10 of their 11 offensive plays thus far, and a 1st down on the 34-yard line. And there is Johnson, and the ball is batted down, and that was Israel Adonijah who got his hands up there. And 3 seconds remain, and there is an injured Chicago Bear. That's Brandon McGowan.
But he didn't mention anything about Lenny Friedman, an offensive lineman, playing some defensive line.
Taking a page out of Bill Belichick's book. Darryl using the players many ways. Mike Vrabel. And the quick going out to Nate Burleson. And Burleson with a couple of nifty moves trying to get by Rasheed Davis, gets 3 yards as the first quarter comes to an end. 3rd down and 12 on the 36. Brad Johnson 6 of 12 for 50 yards. And Johnson's pass thrown behind Travis Taylor. And you see Brad not very pleased with that situation. And 4th down coming up. Rasheed Davis back to receive. And Davis at the 7. Rasheed Davis, and tackled at the 31-yard line by Antoine Winfield. Well, the Bears had a downer early on as Rex Grossman was injured in preseason. Kyle Orton became the starter on opening day, and the Bears began the year with a 1-3 record. But then they got hot. Starting with the Viking win, they reeled off 8 straight victories, and Orton struggled in the loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the first half of the Atlanta Falcons game, enter Rex Grossman, took the reins back, and not playing today is the 3rd quarterback. They don't want to use him, and Orton is back in there for the finale as Thomas Jones picks up a yard. Henderson on the tackle. Here's James Brown with a game break.
Hey, Dick, all Washington needs to do to get in the postseason for the first time in 6 years is win. Philadelphia not making it easy. Mike McMahon hooking up with Reggie Brown, who blew by the secondary. Philly has taken lead over Washington 10-7, that in the second back. to Dick Stockton.
Nothing would make the Eagles feel better after this disastrous year than to knock the Redskins out. Pitch to Jones, and the Vikings are there. Vikings playing very strong defense early on. Henderson again, and no gain or maybe a loss on the 31-yard line. Very active defensive line, Darryl.
It really is. You know, this defense has the potential to be very good. You talk about those guys inside, you know, Kevin Williams and Pat Williams, very disruptive. And they've got great pressure from the outside. They've really upgraded their linebacker level. Sam Coward's been a huge addition to that group. He's a guy that knew Ted Cottrell, the defensive coordinator system, able to help out some of the guys who were unfamiliar with it. And it just took them too long to gel this season.
But they did gel during that 6-game winning streak. 3rd down and 10, and the handoff to Jones. Jones will get a first down. Watch him juke the defense. And Thomas Jones, with a brilliant run, gets inside the 35-yard line. Corey Chavis missed him, and it winds up a 35-yard gain.
Yeah, his next run is going to be to the sideline for the rest of the afternoon, I would suspect. But here he comes. Good patience by Thomas Jones. Watch the move right here on Corey Chavis. Makes him miss out in space. And then just gets gobbled up a little bit from behind. I think somebody's got to let Lovey know that he got over the 1,300. He just went over to the sideline right now, being congratulated by his guys. He has really been the workhorse of this team. And you know, you talk about Tiki Barber and what he means to the New York Giants. You know, Thomas Jones is right up there with the percentage of the offense that he's responsible for when you compare him to Tiki.
Big runs for Thomas Jones, who goes out of the game with 62 in the contest. Here's Kyle Orton trying to find a receiver under big pressure here and throws the ball out of bounds. He's trying to get it to Bernard Berrien. So it'll be 2nd down and 10. Erasmus James, the rookie from Badgerland up in Wisconsin, putting the pressure on Kyle Orton. 2nd down and 10. So Thomas Jones, after toiling, as you mentioned, without getting much satisfaction with Arizona and Tampa Bay, finally reaching the heights with the Bears.
And you know, I was very fortunate to be in the playoffs several times in my career, but you can't really express to people listening, you know, how important that is. And there's some guys that never get that opportunity in their career, and I'm sure Thomas Jones will start to wonder if he'd ever be a part of a playoff team.
Adrian Peterson replaces him. Orton is going to step up and go deep for Berrien. And the pass incomplete in the end zone. Good coverage by Antoine Winfield, number 26.
And you know, the time that Kyle Orton spent on the sideline the last 6 quarters watching Rex Grossman run this offense, you know, he's going to learn some stuff. He's going to see some reads and some areas that Rex went with the ball that maybe he didn't go to when he was the starting quarterback. So he might have benefited a little bit from that. Maybe there's a little bit more confidence now with Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, to call some of those plays down the field. You saw a dramatically more aggressive game plan last week against Green Bay. We'll have to see if he gives Kyle Orton some of those chances.
There's Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator, upstairs. 3rd down and 10 on the 34-yard line. And Orton getting time, and the pass to Gage is knocked away. Good defensive play made by Ralph Brown, the veteran. And 4th down coming up. 1st and 10 on the 10. Vikings have passed all but one of their 14 plays. Here's Mewelde Moore, and Moore gets slammed at the 9 by Alfonso Boone. Todd Johnson coming up from the safety position, and Moore stopped for no gain.
Maybe that's one of the reasons right there. They're not running the ball too often. And you know, the one group that's really been banged up for this Minnesota Vikings all the season long is the offensive line. And we've got an official tally now. Brian Urlacher, your leading tackler for the Chicago Bear defense this year.
What do you win for that?
I think he gets a dinner from Lance at his choice of restaurant in Chicago.
There are many great ones there. 2nd down and 10, Brad Johnson's pass, and it's caught by Travis Taylor. 1st down, picks up a few extra yards, and making the play was Todd Johnson, who came in for the injured Brandon McGowan, who started today. Mike Brown, who is taking the game off, has a strained calf. A gain of 19 yards up to the 29.
I don't think Brad Johnson gets enough credit for what he's accomplished throughout his career. He's bounced around to several teams, but he's always had success where he's been. He's a great student of the game. I think he gets criticized for his mobility and his arm strength, but he's another one of those guys that just seems to be successful whatever system you throw him into.
Helped guide the Vikings, Redskins, and Bucks to the playoffs, and he won a Super Bowl as well. 1st down. Pressure coming on, and the comeback pattern, and the pass caught by Nate Burleson. makes the catch up to the 43-yard line. Good catch after he slipped. 15-yard gain. Rasheed Davis made the tackle. He has replaced Nathan Vasher at cornerback for the Bears. And how many of their regular starters were in the game? Many of them have come out since the start.
Yeah, Nathan Vasher was one of the guys that, kind of surprised to hear was not in that group. You had Charles Tillman, who's a little nicked up, and Mike Brown, who's not all the way back. But, he seemed like the forgotten guy, and he's been so important to this defense. You kind of kidded around about him. Hey, Nathan, what did you do? What's Lovey leaving you out there for?
From the 44, the quick pass to Nate Burleson. And Burleson getting close to the sticks and out of bounds at the 49-yard line of the Bears as we send it down to Big Tony.
Guys, just down here on the field, looking at the sideline here of the Chicago Bears. The guys that aren't playing aren't really happy. Just watching some of the guys who, when Coach Lovey pulls them out, not real happy that they're coming out, being able to look on the field and having their friends go out there and playing. I don't know if it's tougher to go and practice all week and be told on Saturday you're not playing at all, or having a little taste of it out on the field, Darryl, and then all of a sudden being pulled and knowing that you can't go out there anymore.
Yeah, it's natural to want to play.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's the coach's decision. You have to go with what he decides, but you've got the right kind of people when you're in a situation like this and you take them out and they're not happy.
Here's Meweldy Moore, gets open and is downed at the 37-yard line by Brendan Ayanbadejo, and a 9-yard pickup after the previous 9 and a first down to the 37-yard line. And I got the feeling, I'm sure you did last night, that Rex Grossman also wanted to play today.
Well, he made a statement to me that says it all. There is no substitution for game reps. And I think Lovey really can create the momentum and keep the momentum with his preparation during the practice week. But a guy like Rex Grossman right there, he knows that you're not going to be able to emulate the speed and the pressure that you're going to see during the course of a playoff game without being out there on the field on game day.
But who's going to argue with success? And that's what Lovie Smith has achieved this year. And a fake end around and a flip over to Corin Robinson. And Corin Robinson stays on his feet and finally tackled at the 35 by Leon Joe after getting 3 yards on the play. And what a revitalization of a career for Corin Robinson, the ex-Seahawk this year, Darryl.
Well, that's one of the things, I think, when you look at Mike Tyson and how he relates to players, he handled that situation with Corin Robinson, I think, as well as you could. He told him coming in, you have a no-strike policy. You make one mistake and you're gone. I'll give you the shot, and you can come in here, and we're going to see what you can do. And he has really kind of revitalized Corin Robinson's career. So right there, that's one of the positive things that Mike Tyson's meant to this Vikings team.
And a very dangerous kick returner. Hand off to Meweldy Moore, and Moore breaking one. Moore using a screen by Troy Williamson and gets knocked out of bounds. Troy Williamson, the wide receiver, with a huge block downfield and a 33-yard gain, 1st and goal, with Thompson and Ayanbadejo finally catching up to Moore.
Well, you saw the look on Brian Urlacher's face. He's not happy to have his guys out there and let it run like this, but this was all Meweldy Moore. He got the good block on the outside to turn the corner, but a great individual effort on the inside before he was able to get out to the perimeter and down the sideline.
So a huge gain with many of the giants of this Bears defense on the sideline. 1st and goal at the 2. Seatric Faison, rookie from Florida, with the carry, diving in, touchdown Vikings. And there's Kyle Orton, who has not gone deep yet in this game. Something that Rex Grossman was able to do when he assumed the starting role. And a fumble on the snap and recovered by Orton. Loses a yard on the play.
Just a lot of little things right now. You miss a couple quarters starting, and Rex Grossman's going to be getting all the practice snaps. So Kyle probably hasn't had a whole lot of work with the center in the exchange right there. And then on top of that, you've got Roberto Garza in there in place of Olin Kreutz, who he worked with. So it's going to be a little bit different on top of that.
Terrence Metcalf is the only starter still in there from the offensive line. And down goes Orton, and great rush by Kevin Williams. Kevin Williams with a big play and a loss of 10 yards on the play, and 5 career sacks of Bear quarterbacks in only 5 games. He loves going against them.
Well, that's one of the risks you run when you get some backup offensive linemen in. They're going to be a little bit slow on that step down, maybe unsure of the alignment by the defense, where the assignment is. And I tell you what, Kevin Williams just immediately right upfield.
It'll bring up 3rd down and 20. Officially, it's a 9-yard loss on the play. Vikings lead 10-3 in their crowd, and a capacity crowd very much in it, even though the Vikings have been eliminated. And here is Orton. Orton's trying to go deep for Berrien. And the pass is tipped out of bounds, incomplete. And Devontae Edwards, the guy you talked about, the rookie from North Carolina State, who is coming in as a nickel back, doing the job on Berrien.
I think he's 4'3". I think that's his height.
First down at the 45 of the Vikings, so they have good field position this time. And there's the quick toss out to the tight end Jermaine Wiggins, and Wiggins gets only 2 yards on the play. Under 6 minutes remaining in the first half. Dick Stockton along with Darryl Johnston and our field analyst Tony Siragusa indoors. Doesn't have to worry about the frigid temperatures and the hail outside.
It's nice down here if you guys are wondering, just to let you know.
We figured.
Well, you needed one the last 3 weeks. You've been in some pretty cold weather places.
2nd down and 8. And the pitch to Michael Bennett. Bennett going left and runs into a brick wall. Gets about 1.5 yards thanks to Rasheed Davis, who forces the play, as well as Jeremy Kane, who came in for Brian Urlacher. The gain is 1.
Well, besides that one really good individual effort by Mewelde Moore on that long run, not a big commitment to the running game, and that could be a product of that great Bears defense against the run, but that's an area that Minnesota really has to address. I mean, their running game has been non-existent all season long. There's been a lot of different players in and out, never the opportunity to establish it, and it doesn't look like we're going to get a good look at this running attack this afternoon.
They've rushed for 29 yards thus far. And on 3rd down and 8, the pass up the middle to Moore. Moore is hit and does not get to the sticks, as he is down at the 47 of the Bears, getting 6 yards. And there weren't many of the regulars starting for Chicago. Kyle Orton getting the start. Rex Grossman, the number 3 quarterback today. First down on the 16, a handoff to Adrian Peterson. Peterson going around right. Great move by Adrian Peterson and going out of bounds. Lovie Smith said this about Peterson. This guy is a core member of our special teams. He could be a number 1 tailback on any team. As long as I have a job, Adrian Peterson has a job.
Yeah, that says a lot about Adrian Peterson's character. And he's another guy. He's a core special teams player. But when he's been asked to come in and spell Thomas Jones or to take some reps as the running back, has just done a tremendous job. And, I mean, that's a high compliment that Lovie Smith paid to him, that he could be a featured back at some place in the NFL.
And came in the game averaging 5.2 yards per carry. Got 23 on that foray. And a first down and a slant. Gage going up high for the catch, and a first down to the 40-yard line and a gain of 21. And for a game break, let's check in with James Brown. JB.
Hey, Dick, Philadelphia not about to play the part of pushover to the Washington Redskins, who need to win to get into the postseason. Reggie Brown, his 2nd touchdown reception of the day. Eagles on top of the Skins by 10 that late in the 2nd. Back to Dick Stockton.
That could open the door, partner.
Yeah, that would help the Cowboys get in. Tough duty for the Redskins to go 3 consecutive weeks against NFC East opponents and come away with a sweep.
Here's the pitch to Peterson. First down on the 40-yard line. Gets a couple. And making the play was Henderson and Sam Cowart. The playoff picture again. These are the seeds. Seattle and Chicago would nail down 1 and 2. Tampa Bay wins the NFC South. The Giants, by virtue of their win last night, number 4. And the wild card leaders, now that's Carolina number 5, and the Redskins, if they win, would be the 6th. Otherwise, Dallas has the chance later on. Next week's matchups will be Carolina at the Giants, Washington or Dallas at Tampa Bay. That's for the wild card game. 2nd down and 8. The Bears on the Viking 38. Orton's pass caught by Berrien and upended. Coming in to make the play, Antoine Winfield with the play on Berrien and a 7-yard pickup for Chicago.
Well, we talked about, Lovie Smith making some great decisions this season, and I think some of the best are involving that guy right there, Rex Grossman, and Bernard Berrien, the guy who's caught the last few passes. An opportunity to put him on IR. He decides not to. They could be a critical part of this playoff push.
3rd down and 1 with 2 minutes to play in the first half. Bears fans in the upper Midwest. Play action, and the pass up top and overthrowing Gabe Reed, the tight end. So 4th down coming up, and Robbie Gould started to come on the field, and then they were called back. So with 4th down and 1 coming up, the Bears are going to go for it. They started to send their kicking team on.
Right, one of the areas that they've shored up is their punt return game. They kind of solidified that with Bernard Berrien. That was a problem all year. But here's something they need to fix. They need to get this 3rd and short thing corrected before they get into the playoffs.
This is one way of doing it. And they're going to run it. Peterson not going to make it.
Well, if he got it, it's all on his own.
Well, let's see where they spot the ball. Looked like his knee was down before that extra lunge, but we may have a measurement. He had it by a mile.
Oh, yeah.
4 inches at least.
Well, you see right there, Adrian Peterson, he's hit 3 yards in the backfield. And if his knee doesn't get down, you wonder if the booth review comes in right now and checks the spot of this.
Kevin Williams had good penetration. Darian Scott also held him back. So the Vikings take over on downs. Each team has all 3 of their timeouts remaining. From the 31-yard line, Brad Johnson has a wide-open Nate Burleson. Extra effort by Burleson, and that's not what Ron Rivera and the Bears like seeing. A 12-yard pickup and a 1st down to the 43.
Too happy about all the stunting that's going on up front. He's got to do a lot of coverage and getting around the end. I mean, he's hurting out there, but he's doing a good job for a big guy.
They dump it off to Michael Bennett, who is tackled at the 40 after getting 7 yards. Leon Joe make the tackle. It'll be 2nd down and long.
Brian Urlacher on the sideline. He's into the game. Little catch right there. We remember him as a great defensive player, but when he was in college, he was a phenomenal athlete. He returned punts, kickoffs. He did everything.
I thought I saw him wanting to run with that ball after he caught it. I don't know if it was just a reaction or what, but he looked like he was ready there.
He wants to be in there as Michael Bennett gets 13 yards.
The other thing is I don't know if I'm ready to leave Chicago right now. They've built something pretty special with this Bears group.
3rd and 1, inside handoff to Mewelde Moore. Picks up 3 and a 1st down to the 44-yard line. Boone making the tackle on Moore. So the Minnesota Vikings lining up without a huddle with under a minute remaining in the first half, leading 10-3. Brad Johnson again dumps it off down to Mewelde Moore, gets another 1st down. And Moore to the 32-yard line and a gain of 12 yards. Kane on the tackle. So the Minnesota Vikings doing anything but looking like a team that is just ready to just get the car loaded and get out of here. They're playing sharp football today, even though they're going up against backups. And another completion pass. That's to Jermaine Wiggins. And Wiggins gets 4 yards on the pass. And a timeout called by the Vikings. 25 seconds to go. Vikings have 1 timeout left. On 2nd down, pump fake going into the corner of the end zone. The receiver fell down, and that was Travis Taylor, and Chris Thompson was covering. It'll go as an incomplete pass, and the clock now with 18 seconds.
Another thing that this group wants to accomplish this season as a matter of pride.
3rd down and 10, and the slant is caught by Nate Burleson. Burleson still on his feet, goes out of bounds with 11 seconds to go. Definite field goal range. They got 15 yards on it, and down to the 17. Rasheed Davis on the coverage, so the Vikings had a good chance of increasing their lead here.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that plenty of time to take a couple shots into the end zone. Again, a missed tackle right there. But Nate Burleson's been very elusive after he's gotten the ball in his hands.
5 catches for 55 yards for Nate Burleson today, and it'll be a 1st down on the 17, but the clock becomes the big factor. Johnson has time going to the end zone and overthrowing Corin Robinson. Just a bit too high for Robinson, and now 7 seconds remain.
Well, that play took 4 seconds, so plenty of time for them to take another quick shot into the end zone.
Mike Tice says, I want to finish 7-2 and have the team go 9-7. That would accomplish a lot of things considering all of the problems this team has had on and off the field. Remember, Vikings made the playoffs last year with an 8-8 record and also won a playoff game.
Well, 5-1 within your division, 6-2 here at the Metrodome. A lot of things for this Viking team to accomplish this year.
And here's Brad Johnson pass, and it is caught for the touchdown. Travis Taylor.
Also talked to Lovie Smith about Alphonse Boone. We showed him earlier out there playing in the special teams and playing a lot there on defense. He says there's no free rides here in the NFL. Everybody has to earn their money.
No question about it, and that includes everyone on the 53-man roster. First down for the Bears on the 25-yard line. Adrian Peterson, the running back, went in motion. Pump fake by Orton, going to Peterson, who bobbles it and makes the catch at the 31. So let's take a look at the first half statistics. Show the Vikings going through the air very successfully.
Well, there was not a whole lot of commitment to the running game. It was mainly a passing game planned by the Minnesota Vikings. Brad Johnson executed it very well, and you know, that's where you have the difference right there. But they've done a heck of a job. And
on the fantasy world, touchdown by Brad Johnson. Travis Taylor catching it. For the latest in fantasy stats, log on to foxsports.com. It's very tough late in the year when a lot of the stars are rested. Thomas Jones got to 1,300. Only Walter Payton had done that. He came out of the game after 62 yards. So Adrian Peterson, his replacement, running for the first down and going out of bounds at the 39. Chased there by Antoine Winfield after a pickup of 8.
And that's the challenge of this game for the Chicago Bears. We talked about Lovie Smith and what he wanted to accomplish coming into the game, and you run the risk of having something like this happen. It's 17-3, and you know the people are going to talk about it. You know, if this style of play continues here in the second half, but you know he has the confidence in his entire roster, and you got guys like Adrian Peterson on that last play. You know, I'm not going to second guess Love anymore. He's proven to me during the course of the season to be correct quite often.
Peterson going in motion this time the other way, and Jason McKee with a burst up the middle, and McKee, who is at fullback with Brian Johnson out with a stress fracture of the foot. That's a big loss, but McKee gets 13 on this foray.
Put him up at the top of the eye, put him in a 2-point stance, your big fullback. Look at the hole he's got there to run through. Pat Williams couldn't close that hole down. Jason McKee gets up inside 94 right there, just a little bit too late. Good running lane created by this backup offensive line.
First down now on the Viking 48, early here in the third quarter. And they go to Peterson, and Peterson is dragged down. Kevin Williams coming in and penetrating and making a big play. A loss of 4 yards for Peterson.
You really have to worry about these two big tackles inside. We saw on the last play Pat Williams, number 94. Now it's Kevin Williams, number 93, getting upfield immediately, getting that penetration. Adrian Peterson nowhere to run with the ball.
Just watching these two guys too, Moose, they play great off each other. If one guy rushes the passer, the other guy covers him, protects the draw. They're just a good combination in there working together.
Terrence Metcalf, the only starting offensive lineman at right guard, still in there for the Bears. Again, they send Peterson out to the left on 2nd and 14, and the pass intended for Eddie Berlin, incomplete. One thing about Lovie Smith, and you talk about Lovie Smith is firm in his belief, and it's unshakable. He's not wavering. Lovie Smith has said all the way, this is my plan, and he knew what his plan was going to be even before last week was over.
Sure, I mean, he's got strong convictions in what he believes, and he's seen it work. I mean, this isn't somebody, this isn't his first go-around. He's been with Tony Dungy down in Tampa Bay, seen the style work. He's been in St. Louis and incorporated that defense there, but he passes it down to his coaches. His coaches buy into the belief. They pass it down to the players, so everybody's on the same page.
Third down and long, and diving for the catch, and incomplete Eddie Berlin, and fourth down coming up. So Kyle Orton is now 6 of 14 for 59 yards. Brad Johnson has completed 20 of 29 for just under 200 yards, 195, and 1 touchdown toss. Moore, Llewellyn Moore, who had a brilliant 33-yard run earlier, picks up 9 yards with Kane bringing him down.
Brad Johnson, when he goes in at halftime, some guys will change their shoes and stuff because maybe they're sweaty and they don't feel good. He changes everything. The only thing that he doesn't change is his helmet. He's got another set of shoulder pads. He changes his pants, his socks, his jersey. And I used to do the same thing, and it was funny hearing him say it because I had the same reasoning for it. It makes you feel slow. And when you're slow to begin with, like Brad and I are, anything you can do to feel a little bit faster coming out at halftime is a good thing.
Well, for a defensive lineman like myself, you couldn't get any slower, so we didn't change anything. Everything was so taped down, nailed down, strapped down that if you went in there and tried to change anything, Moose, it would take you probably the third quarter. So you wouldn't be able to play the whole game if you had to change it as a defense or offensive lineman.
Probably had 3 or 4 games, Tony, before you were able to change, right? Something like that?
That's true. That's true.
Meanwhile, a first down on the run, and now a 9-yard pickup on the quick to Travis Taylor out to the right. So it'll be 2nd down and 1 for the Vikings on their 37-yard line. Not playing like a team just trying to finish the year. Hardly. The quick going to the other side to Taylor. And Taylor is dragged down, but appears to have the first down. Mike Green, one of the veterans, back up, who's had a shoulder problem on the tackle. It is a first down for Minnesota.
I really like the game plan that Minnesota has implemented this afternoon because, one of the areas when Chicago has struggled during the course of the season, when it was early on or against Pittsburgh, it was the pass completion percentage. The quarterbacks were very efficient throwing the ball. And you come out against this defense, and regardless of who's on the field right now, it's tough to run the ball against the Bears. So that's an area that you could exploit all season long was throwing the short passes underneath.
And this time the pass going out short again to Weldy Moore and gets by one defender and is stopped short 1.5 yards in the first round. Mike Green missed him. Leon Joe made the tackle, a 9-yard pickup. And so they are doing a good job, as you mentioned, going underneath and deep. Taylor and Burleson each with 5 catches so far from Mike Tice's Vikings.
That's why it's so critical for the Chicago Bears to be able to tackle, and the Minnesota Vikings are challenging that right now by dumping the ball underneath, allowing the receiver to run or throwing those quick little screen passes out to Travis Taylor and to Troy Williamson on the outside. You get the ball in the receiver's hands and challenge the defense to come up and make a tackle in the open field.
2nd down and 1. Vikings have had a couple of 2nd and 1, and this time they'll go to Weldy Moore looking for running room, turning the corner, and may have enough of the first down. Todd Johnson trying to prevent it. The ball should be spotted just shy of midfield. It'll be close. And it is a first down. So the Vikings using the clock effectively on this drive. And they have been behind on the time of possession in this game by about 13 plus minutes. It'll be a first down just shy of midfield. This time Jermaine Wiggins lines up in the slot to the top of your picture. And a pump fake and a deep throw, and Troy Williamson downfield, and the throw a little bit too long. Chris Thompson was covering.
I still think they need to come to the other side. That's 3 double move pump fakes they're trying to throw over there against Chris Thompson, and he has been perfect on all 3. You can get that same play call, just change your formation to the other side, and let's try Rashid Davis on the other side and see how he defends the double move or the pump fake, because Chris Thompson is playing it well right now.
Thompson inactive in every game last year with Jacksonville. This is his first NFL start. 2nd and 10. Handoff is to Michael Bennett, who's come in, and Bennett, with a nifty bit of running, gets to the 42-yard line of the Bears, getting 7+ yards. Mike Green on the tackle. Our field analyst, here he is.
Just down here on the Bears sideline again, looking at the Bears. They're sort of like got a lot of wind taken out of them. They know that they can't do much about it because they're not playing the starters, and just watching all the guys sitting on the bench, sort of frustration in their eyes. Give it a little bit of some reaction down here on the sideline, let you know what's going on.
Looks like a day at the beach, Tony, the way they're lolling down there on the grass.
Yeah, they're cutting their tape off. They're just lolling around a little bit. They just, Brian Urlacher just standing around, wishing he was in there with that big grin.
Weldy Moore with a burst And Michael Haynes on the tackle after the Vikings get 9 yards, and a tremendous exhibition of ball control, Darryl, here in this third quarter with 7:45 remaining and another first down.
Yeah, they have done a good job, you know, on this drive in particular. Now they're getting to the running game. That first half, it was predominantly based around the passing game, but now, you know, some stretch plays to the outside. They're allowing Michael Bennett and Moelde Moore to find the running lanes, tiring out that Chicago defense.
Yeah, they're doing the job. An I formation for the first time today, and a play fake out of it, and going deep for Troy Williamson, and covered well by Rasheed Davis in the back of the end zone.
We have seen some plays given up underneath and maybe a little bit of success in the running game, but this defense is built around not giving up the big play. And virtually every time Minnesota has gone down the field to try and hit a long one, the Chicago Bears have been up to the task defensively.
They have given up 17 touchdowns all season. And now 18 when you look at this game, 18 touchdowns. Second down and 10, and Lenny Friedman, who is the center, is playing defensive tackle. Play action. Stepping up, and the pass to Wiggins, the tight end, close to the first down inside the 25, with Ian Badejo making the tackle. And great job by Brad Johnson in this game. And you remember Dante Culpepper suffered a knee injury, torn ligaments in the Carolina game in week 8. He is rehabbing in Orlando and expects to come back full throttle next year for the Vikings.
And just some more of that adversity that this team has had to overcome throughout the course of the season. And you lose a guy like Dante Culpepper. I mean, he has been, you know, very instrumental in the offensive success here for the Minnesota Vikings. But, you know, Brad Johnson comes in, he gets the guys to rally around him and just does his thing. You know, nothing fancy, nothing great. He's just always very efficient.
No question, the AFC different story. A lot of repeat winning teams are back. First down and 20 following the holding call. Brad Johnson gets it off, and it's caught by Nate Burleson. Burleson getting inside the 20-yard line, and the tackle by Rasheed Davis. So an 11-yard pickup down to the 19.
Well, just watch Brad Johnson on this play. He's looking to his right. The whole thing's collapsing down in front of him, and then he has the presence to just get a little flick, and he takes away an opportunity for Lenny Friedman to get a sack.
It's tough getting pressure from an offensive lineman. You know, you got to worry about this guy going off on the snap count. And I know it's going through Lenny Friedman's mind right now. He's saying, I can't believe you got to go and beat these blocks and then run to the ball. Usually we just go and we just block and don't move. But he's definitely feeling it out there.
Well, he's yet to play on offense this year, even though he's listed as a center. Here's Michael Bennett, gets a second win. Bennett inside the 5. What a run by Michael Bennett down to the 1-yard line. Todd Johnson prevented the touchdown, 17 yards. Michael Haynes had missed him, but a great bit of running by Bennett.
Come on, Coach Tice, you can't take him out after this effort. Watch the job that Michael Bennett does here, breaking the tackle, staying alive, gets all the way down to the 2-yard line. And what's he get for that? A trip to the sideline, and here comes Seatric Faison.
It's like Warwick Dunn with giving way to T.J. Duckett. Playoffs have to be number 1, and of course, any player or coach will tell you that. Tipped and incomplete off the hands of Burleson. Despite the fact that it was tipped at the line of scrimmage, Burleson had a chance to make the grab. So second down and goal coming up from the 7-yard line. This drive so far, 14 plays and 80 yards, has used up nearly 8.5 minutes.
And it doesn't matter who's on the field at that time. When you make it to the NFL and you have an opportunity to walk on the field as a player, you're a good football player. And when you go 13 plays, 80 yards, over 8 minutes, that's great execution. And I don't care who's lining up across from him, because he deserves to be on that field.
And Brad Johnson to throw, goes out to Moelde Moore. Moore at the 4-yard line, gets in for the score. Moelde Moore finished in impressive fashion, and Mike Tice has seen his team prevent the Chicago Bears from establishing a franchise record for fewest points allowed in a season.
Coughlin has done a tremendous job with the Giants. It's going to be a very well-played game with John Fox and Tom Coughlin as your head coaches.
Rasheed Davis on the kickoff return. And the Vikings don't do their best job of tackling, to say the least, as Davis gets past the 40-yard line with a 34-yard return, and becomes the second quarterback. Well-traveled veteran. Bears starting from the 41-yard line, and Jason McKee straight ahead. That's his second strong run, and 8-yard gain just shy of midfield. Kyle Orton completed 6 of 14 for 59 yards, but nothing long.
No, and that's the difference, and that's why everybody's excited to have Rex Grossman back in there. It's a much different approach when Rex Grossman is taking the snap from center, and a big difference last week against Green Bay. You know, his first pass of the game against Atlanta when he came into the second half, a 20-plus yard completion across the middle. So, we always wondered about it. We debated it all season, but we've got a little bit of proof now.
Cedric Benson with the carry on 2nd and 2 is tackled just shy of the first down by Sam Cowart. And the one thing about Orton, and Lovie Smith said it this week, with Grossman now entrenched as the quarterback, he said we wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for Kyle Orton. And the fact is, you can't take away his 10-4 record as a rookie starter this year.
No, he did exactly what he was asked to do, and that's all you can expect from a rookie quarterback in the NFL. And he knew what his responsibility, what his role was, not to make the mistakes. He wasn't out there to win the game. He was to rely on his defense and a strong running game, and he did exactly that.
3rd and 1, and here's Benson getting an opening off the left side and getting a first down to the 44. Brian Williams on the tackle, picking up 6 yards on the play. Benson coming in as the 3rd leading rusher. And of course, Benson missing, as we said, 6 weeks. Who are the Rookie of the Year candidates? Well, we know Cadillac Williams. Got to put Kyle Orton down as 10-4. Shawn Merriman with 9 sacks, and Lofa Tatupu, who has had really huge for Seattle.
And looking at that picture of Kyle Orton right there, I think if he had he needs a shave. He needs to get a shave right now and just get back to that look he had early in the year.
Yeah, he failed the appearance vote, I think.
Swing pass out to Benson, who gets 3 yards. So, Tony, the appearance vote, is that like the Pro Bowl when the fans vote, the coaches and the players?
Well, and when you have the Pro Bowl, pretty much, the fans vote. Everybody's starting to be able to vote on that whole thing. So, I think you got to go for looks too. I wish that to be a big part of it. You have to look the part.
Well, hey, the big thing when we talked to him when we first had him, when he kind of tried to grow that beard, I don't necessarily think you can say he did grow a beard. I think it's still in a process of growing. But he did it because he wasn't at home. His mom couldn't tell him to shave it. But I guarantee you, she's called a few times. And I don't know, the Grizzly Adams look went out a couple of years ago. We got to get that thing cleaned up.
You guys are tough.
I think you would embarrass Grizzly Adams if you told him that he looked like that, though.
You guys are very tough. Adrian Peterson, and a 5-yard pickup with Napoleon Harris making the tackle. What about that guy?
Yeah, that's what it'll look like. Give him a year or two. I think that's the look he's going for right there, Moose.
No, but see what happens is when it leaves here, it comes down here. So, that you don't want to get to that spot. When you got more hair on your chin than you do on the top of your head, that's not a good place to be either.
One good thing is, though, when you start getting older, you start getting the hair on your ears, maybe the beard starts maybe overcoming that, so people don't really look at your ears if them long hairs come out anymore. So, something positive.
I don't know if we need to go that far. 3rd down and 1, and here's Eddie Berlin, and Berlin is stopped by Antway Winfield. No gain on the play. So it's 4th down coming up for the Bears. This has been an inspired effort today by the Minnesota Vikings on both sides of the ball. They have not allowed a touchdown. They have scored 27 against the Bears. Of course, most of the backups have been in there. Lovie Smith, well, he doesn't care. I mean, officially he'll say you want to win the game, but officially season begins in 2 weeks. 4th down and 1. And the Bears go for it. And Blake's pass is caught by Gabe Reed. And a first down for Chicago on the Viking 30. A 5-yard pickup. Blake, by the way, in his 14th year in the league, started for the Cincinnati Bengals for 4 years in the mid-90s and made the Pro Bowl back in 1995. He had 44 touchdowns for the year with San Jose. But anyway, he goes out of the game. 1st and 15 following the false start. Back to the 35-yard line is Blake. And this pass is caught by Eddie Berlin, who is ridden out of bounds at the 26-yard line by E.J. Henderson, a 9-yard pickup. And by the way, with those 9 yards, nope, not yet. Okay. We keep the best for last. And here comes Rashid Davis coming back in the game. So we're seeing guys playing offense, defense. Friedman was a center.
How close was he to a sack and everything?
That's right, playing the defensive line position. So there is number 21 to the top of your picture. 2nd down and 6. They're going to run the ball with Adrian Peterson and not get much. Pick up 1 yard on the play.
Get those 44 touchdowns in the Arena League, you got to split them out to the right and run away from them. But as a defensive player, I mean, sometimes you're just a defensive player. Run a route. I ain't going to run a route. I'm going to go hit somebody.
What are you doing in here? So now Davis back to the sidelines. And Eddie Berlin replaces him. Justin Gage goes far to the right. 3rd down and 5. Pressure put on, and Blake gets away, fires downfield, and the pass is caught inside the 10 by Justin Gage, and a gain of 16. But right now, let's go to JB. 1st and goal at the 8-yard line for Jeff Blake, who is 6 for 6 for 40 yards on this drive. Reed going in motion, and Blake being chased in his pass, and it is incomplete. Trying to get it to John Gilmore, one of 3 tight ends. Desmond Clark started today, but has been Gilmore and Reed for the most part. 2nd and goal.
That's probably one of the other areas. We talked about the 3rd and short. They seem to have gotten their punt return situation all cleared up, but the tight end spot in the system that Ron Turner runs here, you know, the tight end is a key element to that. And I don't know if Desmond Clark, John Gilmore, you know, Gabe Reed, that group has had the production he expected.
Adrian Peterson working his way inside the 5-yard line, and you know, of course, trying to stay healthy, and as you mentioned, trying to get the training camp team ready for the playoffs. The only injuries today: Terrence Metcalf, the right guard, suffering a sprained knee, and Brandon McGowan, the strong safety who started in place of Mike Brown, also with a sprained knee. They had not returned. 3rd and goal coming up. And there's the slant, touchdown to Justin Gage. And the Bears finally get 6. 4-yard pass to Justin Gage, and for Gage, that is his 2nd touchdown catch.
Well, you saw the formation to the right. You bring some motion in, you distract everybody, and then on the backside, you've got one-on-one in Justin Gage. He wins that slant route immediately. Jeff Blake does a nice job. He knows he's got the one-on-one out to the left, and just pitch and catch for 6 points.
And Robbie Gould with the point after. It's good, and the Viking lead is 27-10. So Jeff Blake, appearing in only his 2nd game this year, throwing his 1st touchdown pass of the season. 9 yards. If they get 9 yards, Tampa Bay will be number 1 in the NFL in yards allowed. On the end around, Troy Williamson, and Williamson getting the 1st down. So a 9-yard pickup, and as a result, not only do the Chicago Bears not establish the franchise low for points against in a season, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers become number 1 in the NFL in yards allowed. And it's the shades of 2000. The Baltimore Ravens losing the number 1 ranking to the Tennessee Titans on the last day. Remember that, Tony?
Yes, I do.
And what did it all mean in the real big scheme of things, Tony? Did that have any impact on that Super Bowl run of yours?
I mean, it was nice to break a record and feel that whole high, but it wouldn't have meant anything if you didn't win a Super Bowl.
Well, we're talking about some things that were missed out by this 2005 Bears team, and there's been a lot of comparisons back to that '85 team. But, you know, the one thing that they all talked about You know, the guys on the 2005 team, which, you know, this is the type of guy that they have. It means nothing. You can draw these comparisons to now and then and talk about where our defense stacks up. But until we win a championship like they did, there is no comparison to the 85 team.
The one thing they can hang their hat on is that they have 5 players from the defensive unit going to the Pro Bowl, the most since 5 went from the 1985 team. Michael Bennett with a big burst. Michael Bennett in a foot race. Turns it on, and Bennett will score. No flags down, 61-yard touchdown run by Bennett.
That's about 180 degrees
Right.
from center for those two guys.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that sticks out when you think about both of those guys is they don't care. Both of those guys don't care what anybody else thinks about them or about what they're doing out here on the field.
That's absolutely right, Tony. As Rashid Davis returns the kickoff 25 yards to the 37-yard line. By the way, that 61-yard dash by Michael Bennett was the longest run of the year by the Vikings. And, you know, you're looking at some of the starters on the Chicago bench. These are the leaders right now, but, you know, no one ever wants to be on the short end, whether the game is important or not important.
Yeah, but I mean, Lovey made him prepare all week long. That's what he talks about. You know, he's going to be able to generate the momentum, you know, in their bye week, in that week of final preparation before the playoff game. He's not worried about what was going to happen today. And, you know, the first thing he's done, you get this game out of these guys' system. They don't watch it on film. You know, this is gone. This is one of those things that, hey, you knew what our approach was going into this. I told you Saturday morning what we were going to do. I let you practice all week like you were going to play. Then I come in Saturday morning. I tell the guys who I'm going to sit down. And, you know, they had to know that this was a potential outcome of a game like this. And I don't think it phases him one bit. I agree with what Tony said. What other people will say, it doesn't matter to Lovie Smith and the Bears staff, because they are focused on one thing this year, and they thought this was the best way to achieve that.
Benson getting 4 yards on first down and gets the call again. A good straight ahead run by Benson gets 5 yards, leaving him short by 1. Well, Coach of the Year candidates coming up, and a lot of people have talked about Lovie Smith. This is an interesting one because Tony Dungy's Colts really, before they dropped a couple of games, far and away the best team in the league. Mike Holmgren, look what he's done with Seattle, and perfect at home at 8-0. Lovie Smith, though, going from 5-11 in this division, you know, might get my vote, not to put any of the others down.
No, I'm looking at Lovie Smith and Marvin Lewis. You know, Cincinnati, a kind of a perennial team, similar to Arizona. You know, not a lot of success there in 2+ decades. And, you know, Marvin Lewis had a lot of work to do when he got to Cincinnati. And probably first and foremost was changing the structure of that organization and establishing a different mentality and a different attitude.
Because as Darryl knows, and as I know as being players, there is no substitute for actually going and playing in a game. These guys are the backups. Now they have experience. They know what it is to play out there. And in some way, sometime down the road, one of these guys are going to have to step up and go and play, you know, on the first team and be significant out there.
Well, the backup's getting a lot of opportunity. Well, today's game being produced by Bob Stenner and directed by Sandy Grossman. The associate director is Charles McDonald. The sideline producer is Robert Slosby. The associate producer is Wayne Wilson. The broadcast associate is Corey Brocious. The technical producer is Bob Mueller. The pregame show was produced by Scott Ackerson and directed by Bob Levy. The pitch going to Cedric Benson, and Benson gets to midfield. The studio technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. Third down and 7 for the Bears. Cedric Benson with the carry, and he is knocked back to the 49. Loss of 1 yard. Spencer Johnson making the play. So it is 4th down, and no punting unit coming in for Chicago.
Hopefully Pat will think the same way I did.
4th down and 8. The last timeout called by the Bears, and Cedric Benson running, and the Vikings will take over on downs.
But he should be very proud of what he accomplished this season, regardless of what happens tomorrow.
No question. And there it is. That'll be the last play. And the Vikings do indeed finish 7-2 and end up 9-7. The cards may have been dealt, and Lovie Smith and Mike Tice meet at midfield. And the final seconds being ticked off, and the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Chicago Bears 34-10. They go to 9-7. The Bears finish 11-5, but they have the playoffs in 2 weeks. A home game at Soldier Field in the divisional round will be back here at the Metrodome.